Welcome back to Off the Rack Rebellion, the podcast where we talk about costuming and how to take everyday finds and incorporate them into your everyday cosplays. Hi, Billy. How's it going?
What's up? How you doing, Kate?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good. We're gonna do an event recap. We
Yeah,
had two big events,
we've
and
been busy.
we've also been like sort of teasing that we were gonna talk about this stuff. And I just want to say thank you to the people that reached out and were like, "Hey, that was so cool when you guys just sort of talked about like
Yeah.
what you had going on." So here's another one of those.
Yeah.
So
Just the two of us chatting.
just
So
be careful what you ask
I
for.
feel like I know, right? Don't give us too much leash. So I feel like the two events that we went to were both costuming centered, but kind of
Mhm.
opposite ends of a spectrum. And I love
Right,
that dichotomy. I think that's really fascinating. So,
right.
like, tell us about your trip because your trip came first, and I was going to try and join you, and I was like, no way. It was just before my event. So,
Yeah, and I think also, vice versa,
Mhm.
originally the Cantina
Oh,
I went
yeah.
to the Cantina Crossover, which
Mhm.
is, I think now the 3rd one, but the 2nd annual, um, that, Holoscan Database, D, has put together, and he does this shoot of, like, groups of, like, characters, which is kind of amazing. Originally, it was going to be the same weekend as Emerald City Comic
Oh,
Con,
yeah.
or
Mhm.
maybe even the some it was closer to it, and I
Okay.
was gonna try to see if I could do
Oh, that's
both,
right. You were
and
gonna try and rope in both of them. That's right.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
do, just go up the coast and then
Big West
and come
Coast.
back
Yeah.
down. But it ended up that it moved, to the weekend before that, and then I was like, "Well, I'm leaving essentially the weekend
Mhm.
of, Emerald City." So,
Yeah.
I'll get there.
Gotcha.
But yeah, Cantina Crossover, he does, amazingly, he works with On-Site Studios, which is a studio with a bunch of sort of, build outs and setups. It's a lot bigger than I thought it was for some reason, but
Awesome.
obviously, like, how would I know?
Yeah.
Um, but there's even, like there's, like, a cabin in the woods in there. There's, like,
Oh my
a
gosh.
dungeon with, like, a sarcophagus or something like that. There's a bunch of, like, different little, like, rooms, let's call them. They're, like,
Okay.
3-walled,
Different
sort of
stages.
situation. Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And, it was really fun, but they have this sort of sci-fi. It's not, they don't say it's Star Wars, but,
Mhm.
um, they have this sort of sci-fi kind of corridor that looks like it might be the interior of a ship. So it's just sort of a long hallway setup. They also have like a pretty much a full cantina build out, with a bar and like a, behind the bar area and tables and whatnot, which looks
Wow.
like any cantina that we've seen in Star Wars or the games or anything. Felt very Star Wars Outlaws.
Okay.
Um, and then there's also which I believe is their newest build, like a ship interior. It's got like an engine room, which is another smaller room within this room. There's a little engine room, and then there's like a main kind of what would be the hollow table in a ship. So we shot in those 4 locations. I want to call them 4. It's 3.
Okay.
Um, well, we shot in those things. So he brings together all these groups of people. So you're there with all different types of like Star Wars costumers. You're there with Mandalorians and aliens and and scoundrels and droids, and it's amazing, right?
That's amazing.
We had a full size K2 there,
Oh my
which
god.
was amazing. Um, uh, it was really great. It was not only great, like getting not only great getting shot by D, which like I will
Mhm.
do whenever.
Yeah. Yeah. If
He's
yeah,
just
if you haven't
amazing.
had photos by Holoscan database, but you have a
He
chance
will
maybe on
never
May
admit
10th in
to it.
Detroit. Yeah,
Oh,
he's
right.
so good.
That's Space
He's
Time.
so good.
Um, he will never admit to it, but he is so good, right?
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
there are people that have this innate ability to carve out vignettes from, seemingly everyday things, right? Like,
Yeah.
I was there, okay,
Yeah.
when he took, if you've seen the pictures that he's put out,
Oh,
like, I
yeah.
was standing standing, like, off to the side when he was shooting, and when you're there, like, obviously, like, it's impactful and there's a character in full, like, costume in a setting that looks, nearly 360 degrees around them, like, um, and it looks amazing, but then you see the photos and it's like, I didn't
Mhm.
I didn't know it looked that amazing.
Yes, yes. I know. Oh my gosh, it
So
really
he
is.
does yeah, he does a
Mm,
little extra sauce. He's got the sauce. He'll
yeah,
never admit to it, which is also why,
yeah,
like, I love him so much, I
I know.
think. Like, he's just like, I'm just taking pictures, man," and I'm like, "Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, no,
Yeah,
you are,
right."
like you are pulling this story out of these separate entities of scene and bodies and lighting and
Yeah,
making it into a cohesive piece of art. And that's
absolutely.
it's alchemy. It's like it's wild. I love it.
I think to date, that might be the largest gathering
Okay.
of Burgundy Squadron members, which was
That's awesome.
great.
How
I
long
think
were
we
you
had
all there? Like, how long did you have the space?
we were there from 10 AM to 1 PM. So what is
That's a
that? 11,
chunk of
12,
time.
1
Yeah.
yeah, 3 hours, 3
Okay.
hours, 3,
That's
4 hours, yeah.
awesome. And
Yeah,
wow.
it seemed like it seemed like it was in both directions. It seemed like it was really quick, but also,
Mhm.
like, the longest day ever in the best way
Mhm.
possible. I just
Yeah.
felt like I had so many great conversations with people. It was great, like, meeting these people face to face, people
Mhm.
that I talk to every single
Yeah.
day, you know?
Yeah. Oh,
Um, a highlight was meeting Dre. Dre's
yeah.
amazing,
Oh, Dre, I wanna meet you.
so handsome, so
I
handsome.
don't know how many people I've talked to about, God, I have not met Dre yet.
Um, Jason Chudo,
Oh,
so
yeah.
handsome.
You got some
Raimi was
good-looking
there,
people.
so
Ramey's so
handsome.
handsome.
Um,
We're
Raimi was
just
there. I mean, come on, like,
I know,
come
you guys I know, I got
on,
the picture
like,
of you
come
2, and
on.
I was like, because you 2 were like, "Ah, come down, come down." I was like, "I am in crunch mode. There's no way I could do this. There's no way." And I just
And
didn't get that. I was
I
like, "Oh, we
probably
could have been
spent
together."
I spent a good amount of time with everyone. I made a point of, like, having, at the very least, like, a conversation or a small interaction with everyone, but then also, like, I had, like, sort of deeper conversations on
Yeah.
about everything, about life, about costuming. But Raimi picked me up from my hotel that morning.
Oh,
We had
yay.
breakfast, we talked movies, and then we went there and we hung out there. And then afterwards, um, we went to Scum and Villainy
Oh, I still
Cantina,
have not
right?
had
Which is
Blackberry tonight.
great, which is also
Yeah.
very cool.
Oh,
And good food, good drinks. But I think food in California is just so underrated. It's so good.
oh. Oh,
Everything's
good to know.
grown
Well,
Everything is
yeah, it's all,
grown
like,
in California, so
fresh.
everything is
Yeah.
fresh,
You're
yeah.
not
I
shipping
kept
it.
telling
Oh my
people, like,
god.
the
Yeah.
tomatoes in California are
You don't
amazing.
understand.
The the
I
avocados,
get
the
that.
tomato, everything
Oh
tastes
god.
so fresh because it's grown right
It's
there,
right
and
there.
they have every single microclimate that you could want from the
Right?
tippiest top of mountains to the lowest of valleys, so,
Yeah.
like, they have everything. Anyway, I think it's an underrated city. I think, maybe it's
It
not known for its food, but I would
yeah.
say it's probably the best tasting food because everything's so
Mhm.
fresh. Anyway, I'm going
Mhm.
off topic.
No, no, it's
Um,
great.
so, breakfast, then we went to Scum and Villainy and hung out there. Some people that weren't at the shoot came, like Aishrao,
Oh.
came, to Scum and Villainy, so we had even a larger group, and, then, after that, then I was gonna meet up with a friend of my wife's, her podcast co-host,
Oh,
um,
fun.
and it was
Is
on the
her
way
podcast co-host also in the US? Do you both have podcasts with people?
we both yeah, yeah, she's in California.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they record on Sundays,
Okay.
yeah, um, but yeah, I met up with her because she was like, "You're going all that way, you might as well
Oh,
meet
yeah.
Malls."
Oh, totally.
Um, but it was in the direction that Raimi had to go, so he even drove me there, so, like, I
Oh.
spent a lot of time with him. Anyway, thank you so much, Raimi. Yeah, I did a whole
Oh.
post of just, like,
Yeah.
Raimi love a couple of
Yes, I
like,
saw
last
it,
week or
and I was
something like
like,
that.
"Aw, the guys."
I got to put a safety pin on him
I
because he was
saw
like, "Hey."
that. You pinned
He was
him.
like, "Hey, I need you to secure like my scarf." 'Cause he was in a Alien. He was a Nikto
Oh, man.
bartender, and that was like a high. I was like, Are you kidding me? Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?" I had met Raimi at Celebration here in the
Okay.
UK,
Okay.
but it was like it was a it was kind of a passing thing.
Yeah.
I was very nervous, like, because the
Yeah.
entirety of the Dad Batch were there. They
Oh,
were full
the
on in
stars.
their Bad Batch, like,
Oh my
costumes.
gosh.
Like, so I was like, I was there in, like, a vest and, like, some pants. I was like, I felt like
Yeah, you're like, "Oh,
such
no."
an imposter, and, like, but they were so sweet, and they actually had seen me, and they were like, "Billy!" Like,
Oh my
and I
god.
turned around, and it was them, and I was
You
like,
got
"Oh
a
my
literal
god!"
shout out from the dad batch,
Yeah.
like, in
I was
person.
like, "Oh my god." And they were like, "Come on over, like, come," anyway, but I hadn't been able to sort of, like, really sit down and, like,
Yeah.
talk to him, so it was good to spend some time. Um, and that was it, yeah, and then we got the photos back, which are incredible. I mean,
Oh,
that's just the cherry on the top, but I think I would have
yeah.
done it and just done it for that.
Yeah, right? Just the
And
memories in
there's
your
still
head.
more to come because there's, like, a video that was shot,
Oh my
so
god.
Dre shot a short film there that he's
Oh,
doing,
jeez.
like,
Okay.
yeah, there's still so much more to
Oh,
come,
that's
yeah,
so cool. We have so
yeah.
much talent in our friend group, it's intimidating sometimes. It's
The
like
storytelling, that's what I
I
kept telling people
know.
there. I think that, like, I know that, like, this is getting sort of inside baseball, but I bang on about, like, Burgundy Squadron and
Mhm,
how we have this opportunity to be we are unique by nature,
mhm.
because we are the first of our kind, sort of, and I think are what we're starting to get known for is our, storytelling,
Yeah.
and I think it's because it's baked in to the group. Like,
Mhm.
you can't just submit a costume, you have to submit a costume and your backstory, so I think it's
Yeah.
just we're attracting people that wanna tell stories,
Yeah.
so
Who was
it's
I
just amazing.
I was just talking to 2 different people this week, like, messaging about I think because it came out of my, Mando, if you haven't seen my Mando gear from Liam showed up. I'm
Oh my
sure folks
god.
have seen it. I think a lot of people have seen it,
Oh,
but I mean,
so
yeah.
good.
I know, that was so fun, and, so it definitely spurred a few different topics about backstory, and, like, Liam kinda created the basis of this character, but I'm in charge of her name and backstory and stuff like
Right.
that, and so I was like, "God, we almost need, like, a story swapping group," you know? It's like, 'cause I know that Liam writes a lot of short stories, and I know a lot of other folks have written, like, short stories about their characters. I'm like, "That would be
Have
kinda
you
fun."
have you read the story that Krios wrote?
No, I don't think so.
It
Shoot.
is the
Alright,
most
Krios, I'm coming for you.
amazing piece
Why have
that
I
I've
not read this?
written.
Oh my
It's
gosh, okay.
set in the I don't wanna spoil too much, but it's set in the bowels of Coruscant, so it's in the
Okay.
lower levels,
Alright.
and it has to do with, like graffiti writers
Oh, of course it
and
does.
sort of,
Alright.
propaganda and anti-propaganda stuff,
Okay.
and I think he let me read it because of that, because I was doing the posters that were,
Yeah.
like, defacing,
Y yes.
Imperial posters
Yep.
thing, and did that run of 3 posters, and, I think maybe that's why he let me read it.
Okay.
It
Okay.
is incredibly written.
Okay. Oh
Like,
my god.
it is
Well,
the
now I
best
expect a copy.
I have ever read. It is
Better be
so,
listening.
it is so
Okay.
visual, it's so incredibly well written. It's it's amazing. Like, it truly is. Like, I don't mean to, like, gas him up
Yeah.
or gas up the story. Like, it is really,
Okay.
really well written. Like, I could
Yeah.
just picture everything in
Yeah.
my mind, and that's when I know I'm not a big
Yeah.
reader.
Okay.
I know that's not good, but I'm not a big reader,
You got
so
your own
but I
stuff.
do know
Yep.
what's good,
Yeah, yeah. Oh my
and
we
that
just
was good.
we have so many talented people who are,
Mhm,
like, wanting to build layers in the universe and not just
mhm,
exist in it, but
mhm,
change it and manipulate it and guide
mhm.
it, and we see that in the photos, we see that in their writing, we see that in videos. Someday we're
Yeah.
gonna someday we're gonna apply, I swear, as a group to
I
the
would I would suggest
Sci-Fi Film Festival.
I would suggest you to come through the Discord, come through. People do post,
I
their
need to
longer form,
get on the
bios.
Discord board. Mhm.
They
Yeah,
post their longer form bios. A lot of
yeah,
times it'll actually have to be like a Google Doc link or something like
mhm,
that that you get
mhm,
access to.
yeah.
I've posted mine on there, which is like I just checked like the word count, and I think it's up to like 6,000 words or
Oh,
something.
wow,
Like it's
okay, okay.
so people are posting their long
Yeah,
form stuff. There is
yeah,
a want in
yeah,
our group to want to tell these stories, and
yeah.
I think anyway, that was the conversation that I was
I love
having
that.
at
Oh,
Cantina
I love that.
Crossover
That's
is that,
amazing.
you know, we wanna tell stories, and
Yeah,
there seems to be we found each other.
yeah. Oh, I love that, and it is when 2 or more Burgundy Squadron members gather, it definitely does become this, like, "We're so lucky we found each other." Like, because we
Yeah,
play off each other, right? It's like, it's so fun. It's so
yeah,
great. I love it. My event, I feel like, was the complete opposite end of the spectrum, and that's okay. It's also a very
sure.
good, like, you had this very intimate, close friends gathering, and I went to, like, Emerald City Comic Con of
Yeah.
thousands of people, right? Um, and surprisingly, it was still the biggest thing I was doing was going around and getting to say hi to people that I knew, which was amazing.
Yes.
And I was like, "Oh my god, like, I know you." I ran into, oh god, I'm not gonna forget everyone's name. Um, right? I know. One of my Instagram friends, her name is Scout. She's on the East Coast. She's also friends with Colin. She's on the East Coast for now, hopefully moving out here. But had come out here because her girlfriend's here and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna be," because she's part of 501st. And so like
Right.
literally my family had like taken photos where we're like leaving the like 501st, the Star Wars Washington room, and we ran into her bringing her suitcase in. I'm like, "Oh my god, we'll run into each other again," right? And so it's just
Yeah.
fantastic to see, and so it just started out with that, like, I ran into, not Burgundy associated at all, but an incredibly talented cosplayer that a lot of people know, but Asian Sith Mistress, like,
I've
and
got a
she's
little
got
bird tells me
so many.
that a little
What is
bird tells
it?
me she's our next Burgundy
Is
Squadron
she gonna
member.
be? Yes! Oh, I'm so excited because I mean,
Her
she's one of those
application's
people
with the
that.
app team right now, with the
Oh my
application
god,
team, yeah,
yes, okay.
yeah.
Oh, I'm so
I gave
excited
her a
for her.
full on green light. I don't know when this is coming out. She'll be announced before this comes out
Oh,
for
she's one of
sure,
those
but
people that you're
yeah,
like
I gave her a full green
like,
light.
we chat a bit and everything, and "Oh, are you gonna be there?" I'll say hi. I'm like, "Oh my god, thank you." But then, of course, I turn around and I see her. I'm like, "Hi," and she's like, "Oh, there you are." I'm like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
this is so lovely." So, like, got to run into her a couple times and,
She's coming in as a
um
Rhodian.
okay, because I ran into her in her Rhodian costume because she's like, "I'll be a rainbow Rhodian." I'm like, "That's gonna be easy to find you." And so, like, of course, so we take our little guy on Thursdays. He's autistic, ADHD. The least sensory overloading day to go is Thursday morning because
Okay.
hardly anyone's there. It's quieter, but everything's set up. And so we were like psyching him up for, and this is the sweetest thing I gotta tell. Like when he was a little baby, he thought he was a droid because I had an R2-D2
Oh,
droid helmet and a BB-8, and so for his first time cosplaying at Comic-Con, I was Rey, and he had his little BB-8, and we
I've
were
seen that
in their, like,
photo.
promo materials because we were so cute and everything, and so he's gone away for a little while, I think sensory input wise from, like, wanting to, like, have stuff on, but all of a sudden he's back into his costume bin, and
Okay.
he's inherited all of his brothers. His older brother, we used to take him every year, and he would always dress like a stormtrooper. He was always, like, walking around carrying this blaster, like, very official. So
Oh,
he's
yeah.
inherited all this stuff from his brother, and he puts on he's, like, really into, because we have the old, like, Halloween costume, but the adult
Mhm,
helmets, like, they're pretty heavy.
mhm.
So I've got,
Sure.
like, a couple different stormtroopers, a clone trooper, well, Rex, and then, Boba Fett and a Darth Vader. And so he's been into the Boba Fett, but all of a sudden, just a couple weeks before Comic-Con, he got into wearing Rex, and I had found, like, the
Mhm.
jumpsuit at our Goodwill in October for, like, $5. I was like, "Sure, I'll grab it." And so he
Yeah.
wants to wear the whole thing. Well, it was too small. Well, getting close to too small, and I luckily found the whole set for kids on Poshmark. we were just talking
There you
about
go.
Poshmark, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, thank God," because it's like the next size up so he can grow into it.
Yeah.
And so he was all set to he, like, wore it, and we're going up the escalators, and, like, he hears the chirping of the droids, and he's just like, "Droids!" And so, like, I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess we were gonna do the arcade first, but I guess we're doing the Star Wars area first," because, I mean, I think we stood there for probably 45 minutes just staring at droids, talking about droids. Like,
Yeah.
he loves droids. He actually does have an official droidsmith number, and I've never made his jumpsuit, so I need to,
Okay.
because he owns,
Okay.
like, 3 droids already.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and so that was like that kicked it off, and then we were standing there like, looking at the droids, and I ran into Asian Sith Mistress, and that was just great to, grab some photos, and then on Saturday with my local cosplay friends, we do the Jabba's Palace group, which is
Mhm.
super fun. It's just such we are all so goofy while we're doing it, and it's just
Yeah.
so fun, and we're, like, walking around, I'm, like, singing the, like, "Da da 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 da," like, just like, what are you gonna do? You're in a metal bikini in
Yeah,
public. I mean, like, you gotta, like, be weird.
yeah, I have to say, I love the energy of a con. Like, some people are like, "Oh, well,
Yeah.
it's not, like, immersive, this, that, and the other," and I'm like, "Are you
Yeah.
sure? Like, have
You're
you,
immersed
like"
in the people, like,
Ex
you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and
Like,
also, like,
totally.
you get together with these people that are sort of dressed similarly or in
Oh,
Star Wars stuff
yeah.
or in whatever
Yeah,
fandom that you are, and that's it, you're
totally.
in there.
You
Like,
are,
I
yeah.
know that you're seeing, like, a Marty McFly over
Oh,
there, and you're
yeah.
seeing
Oh,
Sonic the
actually, I saw a
Hedgehog
lot of
over
Martys
there,
this
like
year.
yeah,
Yes.
and
But
yeah, and I
you
know that
find
you're
your
seeing all
people.
those things, but you find your
Yeah,
people and you're
you
like, you're
do.
in, you're
And then
locked in,
people
yeah.
wanna, like, pose with you and get pictures with you and
Yeah,
all this stuff,
I
and, like,
love a
in
con.
costume and on costume. Actually, so the
Yeah,
funniest thing is, like, the funniest story from that weekend was that on Saturdays in that group, our goal is just to walk around and let people take our photo because they get
yeah,
so excited. I mean, we've got a 6'6" Gamorrean guard. You don't see those
yeah.
every day. And so that's
No.
what he's all like, "Oh, it's you ladies they love." And we're like, "No, dude. You were one of the only people I've known that dresses like a Gamorrean guard, and it is not easy on him. It's a very grueling
I
cosplay to
know.
wear." And he's just such a sweetheart to do it. So we're like standing up against a wall. We were like around the corner from the Star Wars room, and it was a blank wall. So we are just standing there, just kind of taking a break from walking around, but it was a good spot, good lighting. People are taking photos, and this woman comes up to like, can I take your photo? Oh yeah, for sure. Well, it's my son's like friend's mom. I'm like, Candace, Candace, hi, and she's like,
It's me.
oh my god.
She didn't recognize
I knew
you?
she recognized me. I'm like,
Oh my
"Hi," and she's like, "Oh my god."
it's
She's like, her
me,
husband and kid are like she's like, "They're down the
not
let me text
Candace.
them." I know, and it was so funny, and then we ran into them again on the escalators when we were going down, so her husband's like, "So you're kinda into this?" And I'm like, "Look," and I'm like in the metal bikini, like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
like,
I'm
yeah,
kinda
I
into
think so.
this guy. Yeah, I'm kind of invested," because it had been their first time. We used to take when
Oh,
our son was
wow.
on the, like, the kids level, because for Emerald City Comic Con, kids below a certain age, it's a automatic 4-day ticket, and it's pretty cheap. So
Yeah.
his birthday, we would take, like, 3 or 4 of his friends with us one day. So their son had been, but they had never been. So they're, like, telling me everything they've seen as we're, like, going down the escalators, and he's like, "Oh, you're kinda into this, huh?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a little bit invested." I'm
Yeah,
like,
just a bit.
"This this is my jam." So they were so sold, and they were so excited. They're like, "We're coming 4 days next year. We're in it. We wanna know more. We wanna cosplay." I'm like, "Yeah, talk to me." So you'll run into people that are like, yeah, it is their first time. And in fact, the first time we took
Yeah.
our, um our son's other friend, who he's like they're like the best of buddies these days, like inseparable some days. And like I took him for the first time, I think 2 years ago, and just his eyes when they lit up and he was like, all the geeks are here," and like
It
we took him
really
again this
is that
year. It
experience,
is.
like, that's
Yeah.
why, like, I think, like, like, I think just being in a room with that many people, even if it's
Mhm.
not the same genre or fandom or IP or something, like,
Yeah.
there's something about being in that room with these people, like, that uh, you're
They
all similar even though,
get
like, you're
you.
dressed different, like,
Yes.
it's a sort of a gathering of a weird extended family, and
Yeah.
I love a con
It
for that
really
because it
is.
just feels like, "You're a nerd, so am
Yeah,
I."
totally, totally, and it is, and it's
Yeah,
just like it's 4 days of that, and it's like your brain gets totally fried, and you're totally exhausted and
yeah,
everything, and you're like, "It's worth it," because, like, finding your people and immersing yourself in your people is, like it's so valuable to our souls, right? Like, it feeds
Yeah.
us. And just the creativity that you're
Validate
playing
us.
off of.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. You're playing off of each other's creativity, and, like, you're acknowledging other people, like, "Oh my god, I love what you've done." And, like, you know how much work that took into it, and their aunt doesn't know. Their aunt's seen the photos that,
No.
like, are online, like, "Oh, so nice," but right? And you're like, "We're in this together," and it's
Yes, yes,
amazing.
oh, you hit the nail on the head. It's that,
Yeah.
like, acknowledgement of, like, "Oh, like, I know how much pain that is, like,
Mhm.
how many
Yes,
hours you've poured into that, like,
yes,
and this is, like, someone else, like, tipping their hat, like, to you, like,
yes.
that is amazing, like,
Mhm.
I love a con for that, like, and, like, just, like, I love the surprise of what people are
Yeah,
cosplaying as,
it's
like,
like walking
sometimes you see
through.
these, like
Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
sometimes you see these characters that are like, "Oh my god, like, this
Yeah,
is, like, my childhood, like, I can't
uh-huh.
believe you're" and you
Oh,
start to, like, fan out because you've seen a character that,
yeah.
like, no one cosplays as,
Yeah.
and now there they are standing in front of you, you know?
Totally. It was kinda funny because I kinda went back and forth between Star Wars and non-Star Wars. So, like, Thursday,
Yeah,
I had revamped my Mara Jade, which I'm really happy with that cosplay now, and I'm so
yeah.
thrilled. And then on Friday, I did Claire Fraser from the Outlander books and TV show, and it was
Okay.
so funny because a few people would approach me and be like, "Are you Claire Fraser?"
Yeah,
And I'd be like, "Or are you just dressed in that style?" I'm like, "No, no, I'm cosplaying Claire Fraser," and,
yeah,
and that was great 'cause that like, I had built that, I had sewn that last summer, and it was my first foray into that time period, and I was really proud of that, and it was so funny because, like, they would ask really timidly, and, like, only a couple people were like, "Can I get your picture?" But when you are in Star Wars, everyone wants your picture. Like, and so then on Sunday, because it was the panel of, the Firefly/Serenity
mhm,
cast, most of them were scheduled to be there, but then a couple had to drop out. But it was still nice to see them, and that was, like, the main stage on Sunday morning. So I finally put together an Inara cosplay. I've been meaning to
yeah,
do this for years. I've had total strangers be like, "Have you ever seen Firefly?" And I'm like,
yeah,
"Yes, I have." And they're like, "Oh, you look like." I'm like, "Thank you."
yeah.
Like, I had a couple approach me at an event one time. They're like, "We didn't wanna tell you you looked like a prostitute, but we weren't sure how to say that." I'm like, "It's fine. It's Inara. I know her." Like, it's no big deal. So I finally did that cosplay, and once you left that main area, like that, because they have Emerald City Comic Con now has 2 buildings, because our convention center now has 2 buildings,
Okay,
the old center and the new one that was opened just last year, I think was the first year there. So they've branched out because there was such a bottleneck. They had the main stage up on the top floor, like the 5th floor, and when
okay.
things would get out, but other things were starting, it was such an insane bottleneck. So now they've put the main stage and some other stuff over in the old building.
Mhm.
And it's like a 2-block walk. It's not crazy, but you could get
Yeah,
caught in a rain shower or whatever. But it's what they're doing to make us, able to maximize everything. And so once you left that kind of panel area for the rest of the day Sunday, nobody knew who I was, which was hilarious because
okay.
it was the 20th anniversary of 20th? God, that sounds like too long ago, but
Yeah,
I'm kinda doing the math, I can't remember,
it
50?
is.
Anyway, it was an anniversary of Serenity, um,
It was the 20th.
coming out. Oh my god. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I guess that
yeah,
does make sense because 'cause I'm
yeah.
42. There we go, okay. So, yeah, so it was just super funny because I was like, every other day, it was like, okay, people knew me or people didn't know me, and it was a
Yeah.
fun balance. But it also it is always it's like walking through a Where's Waldo book where you're like, "Oh my god," because where Waldo is
It is.
literally there, but also because
Yes,
you're
I
like,
love
"Oh
when
my
there's a
gosh,
Waldo there.
there's." Yeah, I know, right? But you're like, "Oh, there's," like you mentioned, like, that character, this bizarre, whatever, and so you're like, "Oh, this is fun." There was a
I
cosplay
love
bingo that
seeing
you could play, but they were always out of their sheets every morning.
oh, of
Like,
course.
if you didn't get there early, like, they were out. I was like, "Ah, next year, I'm gonna prioritize
I
cosplay
also
bingo."
love I kind of like that they make you walk 2 blocks to another building because I love seeing people in cosplay
Out.
out in the yeah, crossing a street,
Yeah.
like
Well, like last year when Raimi and Luke and I took photos, like, literally, we took photos
oh,
across the street.
yeah.
Yeah, so the Paramount Theater is a historic theater in Seattle, amazing shows, and it's literally right across the street from our new convention center, and so, like, that wall where we took photos, that's the secret. The secret is out. Raimi's wall
Uh-huh.
is the side of the Paramount Theater. So we had been, like,
Okay.
over there, and we were all having these conversations about, friends who've had the SWAT team called on them, including Luke.
Ye
Like, firsthand
Yeah.
experience.
Oh,
That's
I
a great kind of
bet.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, "Oh my god, okay, let's be careful of the blasters," and they're like, "We're right across the street," and at one point in time, a squad car was coming up the hill, like, sirens blaring, and I was like, "Aw, shoot," and, like, they
Yeah,
went right
yeah,
past us, we're like,
you
"Okay, okay, we're good, we're good." It was
you
just so
jinxed us.
I
What
know,
I the
but
last time I was it the last time? I think it was my very last, like, Dallas Comic Con when I was living in Dallas still. Um, there was I think it was, like, near the end of the day. I went 2 days and, it was near the end of the day, and I was walking back to my car, or was it doesn't matter what type of day it was.
yeah.
I was walking back to my car, which was in a parking garage not too far off. Um, and I see these, like, I don't know, kind of like cool dudes or
Okay,
whatever, and they were walking, like, out of a bar. So it didn't seem like they were at the con or
okay.
anything, and I'm in, like, full, like,
Yes.
forget I bl like, I did this sort of Jedi thing and
Yeah.
whatever. Um, and they're sort of walking out of the bar, and I'm like, "Oh, no," like, here's, like,
Oh,
these,
yeah.
like,
Like, brace
cool
yourself.
dudes, they're
Yeah.
gonna, like, say something. And they were like, "Hey, so, how's the convention?" Or what was it that they said? Did they say, "How's the convention?" or "How's Comic-Con?" Um, whatever, doesn't matter. They were like, "Hey, how's the convention?" And I was like, "What convention?" And I just kept walking, and I was like, "Yeah." Anyway,
Well,
yeah.
so my friend that is the Gomorian guard, he always gets a hotel room downtown, which is so smart, and maybe I should just do that one of these days and have a
Big
staycation, but
costume. Yeah.
he does it, yeah, so for ease of, like, changing, and so he had it, like, 2 blocks, a hotel a couple blocks away, and I had the extra key to the room because I was gonna be changing there actually more than he was, so which was very lovely. Um, and so we're also all of our Jabba's Palace group met up there Saturday morning to get ready and, like, go over together. There was a doctor's convention also in town that was staying at the same a bunch of them were staying at the same hotel, and so we were, like, riding the elevator with these guys in, like, suits, and we were just
Yeah.
like, "Doot, doot, 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 doo, doo, doo," like,
Different
just, like,
kind of cosplay.
riding it down. Yeah, we were like, "How jealous are they right now?" Like, we're just like and we're like, "Did they warn them or did they just show up and there's, like, all these people?" Because, like, we have, the light rail in Seattle, so a lot of people take the light rail. So as soon as you get on in the mornings, like, I think 2 of the mornings I took the light rail down, and it's just so funny because you get on and you're like, "Okay, I'm in this costume," but you're like, "Oh, when I see somebody over there with some anime hair, sweet," and, like, that person I'm pretty sure is a man in black, not just a
They
suit,
start
like,
filing
yeah.
more in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
more
as
and
you get
more of them
closer,
in.
there's more people,
Yep,
and you're like,
yep.
sweet." Actually, last year when I was waiting on the platform to catch the train in my Mara Jade, one of the, like, sound transit security guys came up, and he's like, "So what are you going to? What is going on?" And I was like, "Comic-Con?" He's like, "Yeah, I keep hearing about it. What is it?" And I'm like, "Oh, honey, let me tell you." I'm like, "When is the next train?" "Okay, I got time. Awesome." And I was like, "You gotta go next year." He's like, I will. I'll go next year." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Awesome, you should." So, like, you have these conversations with people around town as you're like some homeless guy last year was yelling at me that I was the devil when I was on my Twi'lek, like, Leku
Oh,
running through downtown. I was like, "Okay, this is
okay.
probably jarring for you right now. You could be on something, that's fine." Yeah, it's not something you see every day, but you do, like, as you get closer to the convention center, you start seeing weird colors and weird shapes and weird clothing, and it's like, "Yeah, here we are.
Yeah,
We're in it." Like, so, it's a fun convention for sure, and
yeah,
it is nice that I mean, we're not like a crazy huge city, but it's a decent sized
okay.
Comic-Con, so,
Yeah.
that's oh, I ran into, Victoria, she's in one of the Droidsmiths. So I was, like, in
Oh, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so I was
Yeah.
in a
I know
dance
Victoria.
workshop, and, like, it was, like, kind of in this atrium area, and I turned around, and she and her partner were watching, and I was like,
Yeah.
Victoria, it was like and so it
Yeah.
was, like, fantastic, and so she was telling me because she's like, "This is bigger than Star Wars Celebration," and I was like, "Oh, I didn't realize that," and she's like, "Yeah, we looked up the
Celebration was kinda
numbers."
small, yeah. Well,
Yeah, so I guess
building-wise, like,
okay,
I think it was, like, filled to the gills, like,
okay.
seriously, it was
Well,
hard
even
to move around.
numbers. Yeah, she said
Yeah,
she looked up the numbers, and even because we've got such a big building, there's 2 of them, they can
yeah,
really pack people in. So she was
yeah,
like it was their first time, and she's like, "Wow, it's bigger than we expected," and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome
yeah.
to know," like
I met her at Celebration, yeah.
There are cons. Yeah, there are cons I wanna go to. Always wanna go to Celebration. Someday I'll make it. A bunch of our friends, I don't know when this will premiere. Maybe this will premiere this weekend, this episode, but a bunch of our friends are at WonderCon this weekend.
Right.
And that's one that I've always thought, C2E2, like, there's a bunch around the country that I'm always like, "It'd be great to check
Yeah.
these out, and just see the
I can't
different
believe
feels."
I've lived in New York 13 years,
And
and
you
I
never went.
never went to New York Comic
Oh
Con.
my
Never.
gosh.
Not once.
Oh
Not
my
once.
gosh.
I
That's
would go
Yeah,
for I'm not even a car guy, okay? Let me just say
yeah.
that. I would go to the auto show
We've talked about this. Oh
almost
my god, we
yeah,
can
almost every year. Just for
Yes.
a laugh, I would go with
Yeah.
a friend of mine just because it was cheap. I think it was like $10,
Oh my
and it was
god.
like a whole
Okay.
day's worth of, like,
Yeah.
activities for $10. So we'd
Yeah.
be like, "Do you wanna just, like,
Go
go?"
look at
You know?
cars. Yeah.
And then it just became like "Hey, it's
Oh,
coming,
so
like, next weekend." The auto show was
yeah.
always either the weekend before or the weekend after
Oh
New York
my
Comic Con. So I
god.
was, like, in the building
Oh my
where
gosh.
it like, it wasn't like it was hard to get to or anything. I wasn't in that world in
Yeah.
my 20s.
Yeah. Right? What was wrong with
I
us?
didn't know about it, like,
Yeah.
cosplay, I think back then this is 20 years ago,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. Oh, I get it. Yeah.
Was like it was more of a niche thing.
Yes. I think so
I wanna
too.
say, like, even, like, the technology of
Yeah.
cosplay was different, so people were still
Yeah.
doing stuff just straight out of foam, straight out of
Mhm.
cardboard, like,
Right?
like, it was you were really hardcore if you were doing stuff out of, like, Sintra
Oh,
or
yeah.
vacuum-formed plastic,
Yes.
like the 501st and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But 3D printing was non-existent.
Mhm.
Like, people were making Mando helmets out of paint buckets. Like,
Oh
it
my
was a
gosh.
different world. It was a
It's
different
archaic.
world.
Like
I know, I know,
Wow.
I
Right? Well, and
know.
I was a
So it
costumer
was
back then,
different.
but I was just in the Ren Fair scene,
Yeah.
and I never thought of, like, "Oh, other than Halloween, I could do costumes other times?" Like, if I had known, I would have been there, but I just didn't know.
Had I
Um,
known, I
oh
would have been
god,
there.
Billy, yep, for sure. Well,
So I'd
New
like to
York
go back just to, like,
Yeah,
just as, like, well, here I am, like,
yep,
I never did it
finally made
then, but
it.
here I am. Yeah.
I think New York is
13
probably one of
years
the
I
bigger
lived
ones
there.
I would try. That's
Yeah.
a long time too. Oh my gosh. One of my friends I just got together with, I say is my oldest friend, but it's because we've known each other since 1st grade. And he came out, for work a couple months ago, and he mentioned that he was at the Detroit Comic Con because one of his kids is getting into cosplay as a teenager, and ran into, like, one of my really good friends from high school that I, like, kinda stay in touch with, but not super good in touch with. He's like, "Yeah, I saw Marianne." And I was like, "Oh my god," like, I should think to go home to Detroit, which I will be at Space Dive, which will be nice, but that's such a very little
Yep.
niche thing. But I'm like, I should check out the Detroit Comic Con somewhere because it's another old Comic Con, right? And, like, people that I know are apparently there.
Speaking
But
of
there are
Space
so many.
Dive,
Yeah, Space Dive is
I'm
coming
gonna
up.
miss it.
Yeah.
I'm
Very
gonna miss it.
sad. It's alright. Some
Maybe
years.
you know what? I'm also scared. Look, I don't wanna bring down this high, but I'm also scared of flying to the US.
Ooh, ooh, because it's such a dark, scary place these days, I don't blame you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I just think it's weird right now
yeah,
because I was like, "Oh, well, I can't go to Space Dive because of a scheduling thing."
yeah,
What about Outpost 77? They do
yeah,
4 different ones throughout the year, like, that might be a good
yeah,
place to sort of get together with a bunch of squadron, people, but I hate that I'm missing Space Dive. I
yeah.
hate it, I hate it, I hate it,
Hey,
but
they do
I
it
do it.
every year. They're gonna
I know,
keep doing it. They're not gonna
I
stop
know.
that.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah, it's
will
been
be
going on
there.
for 15 years,
I
like, it's
know.
not gonna
So,
stop.
little plug for Space Dive again. I
Yeah,
understand their
if you can
presale tickets
go
have sold out, but they've got regular
Presale
tickets
tickets have
available.
sold out, regular
Mhm.
tickets are selling. If you're gonna be there on the 10th of May, hit up DISO at
Yeah,
Holoscan Database to set up a photo shoot. Do
absolutely.
it. It is
Yes.
worth
You
it.
won't
It is
regret it.
worth it,
Yeah.
worth it, worth it. I've now done 2 shoots with him. One was I'm still posting from the first
Oh,
one,
no. The one with
and I haven't
Creoles?
even
Oh,
started
no.
posting about, like, this one. Yeah,
Yes.
the one with Creoles. I still have photos in the bank from that one that I haven't
That's
posted.
amazing.
Like, I'm saving them, you know,
Ah, that's fantastic. I love it.
and then I'll repost them again, um, up till the end of time because
I love it.
they're that
Oh, 'cause they're
incredible.
that good.
They're that
I know.
amazing. Yeah.
Ugh,
Yeah.
oh, well, that was a great recap. I mean,
It
like,
was.
we've had a and I do love that we went to these 2 different events that were so different, but
Yeah.
we get the same energy out of them. Like,
Yeah.
once again, just go find your people, everybody. Go find
Yeah.
your people. The nerds are out there.
They are. They are. And, why don't
Yeah.
you tell
Oh,
anyone,
yeah.
anyone, tell everyone
Anyone
where they
who
can find you.
cares, I am Kate Ryder. I'm at One Scavenger's Wardrobe on Instagram and on Blue Sky. I am just one scavenger who doesn't post enough on Blue Sky. That's a goal for April.
I am Billy Maddox everywhere, I think. You can find me, Billy Maddox anywhere. On Instagram, though, that's where I am now until the mass exodus, to Blue Sky. I'm gonna keep plugging Blue Sky until we
Yeah,
all leave, until
totally.
Flashes is available for Android, until
Oh,
we can
yes.
all leave and have a place that feels like the look and feel of Instagram somewhere
Our
else.
cozy outpost, yeah. Mhm.
Yes. Thank you so much to Raimi for always being our producer in the background, and to the Dad Batch for having us on their little network of podcasts. It's just two of us, but that's big
It's
enough, right?
cozy.
It's cozy. And remember that a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away can be right here and right now.